G'day guys, Kelvin, Catching Company in New Zealand. Right, I'm not looking at 1UZ, that's a bit different, eh? I'm just checking all my pictures on the bottom that I haven't got anything that are incriminating in there. So I've got a mate in the North Island, up north. He's actually getting a dyno room happening soon, and he's got a 1UZ and an HQ race car, and the Lemons car that we race. And Zane's had this particular motor vehicle come into his workshop, and it's got some electronic issues. So we're going to put one of these in it. Well, Zane's going to put one of these in it. Oh, I've got a loom. Just wait, Zane. Wait. Watch this. It's like magic. Suddenly there's a wiring loom in my hand. So we've got a unterminated A loom, link A loom. And this one's got like the crazy ass wire that's poking out. See, there it is. And it's just like pings out the side. It's like one of those crazy hairs you get. Oh, I get them out of my nose these days. But so there's the wiring loom. Zane, if you want to pull wires out of it, you're just going to put the little clip and pull the wires out. There's going to be some changes to the crank wiring, so you're probably going to have to do a couple of changes in there. And all the extra ones, just pull them out. You can always put them back in. Okay? There's going to be a bit of setup there. Okay, so we'll get rid of that. I'm going to go back to the Monsoon. Gravity is working. And I've got a little sheet here that I'll be writing on, scribbling some notes on. I chose the Monsoon because it's got a built-in map sensor. It's got a few more outputs than the Atom, and price-wise, it's very, very competitive. This is an EX Lancer Intercool Turbo, 1982, and first registered in New Zealand in 1982. I've actually worked on a few of these. One of my staff members had one, and I was expecting a different injection unit, but well, actually my staff member had two of them, and then I've worked on a couple over the years. Very cool little cars, very cool. The electronics though, not so cool. So we're going to look at what we're going to put in it, what sensors, and how we're going to wire it. And I'm going to make some suggestions to Zane, and this is the easiest way to communicate with him. Alright, so we've got the Monsoon, and we're going to have a look. I'm just going to push this button here. There's some wiring, that's all even. Just pull it out, throw it away. It's ugly. And right, here's the injection unit. There's some injectors there. There's injectors, two of them. Zane's actually sat down and done some maths, and he's worked out that about 1,000 cc's is going to be good for 360 horsepower, because there's only two of them in that throttle body, the throttle body center point injection. And so we've got another contact. Place in Auckland that supplies injectors, so Zane's going to grab a couple of injectors from there, and he's going to get he's going to get high impedance to work with the link to make sure they're good. And then we can get the connectors. I've probably got connectors in stock for it, or they can come with the injectors, so that's easy. And while we're looking at this, this looks like the injection unit fuel pressure sensor, and I'm going to put fuel pressure into AN volt 1. I think at the end of this video I'm going to whip in and we're going to, or should I do it now? I could write the map now. We'll do it at the end, because that's going to be a bit boring, but I'll go through Zane for that as well. So there's the fuel pressure sensor. I've got the plug for it, and the little booty, look at the booty, and of course terminals and seals. Yeah, I've got them. So that's the fuel pressure. These are a neat little sensor. I really like them. And to me, it looks like, I was going to reach out and touch the screen and point to it, but that's not going to work, eh? I reckon it's going to fit there. Is that going to be part of the fuel ports? Could well be. This one has a thread. Just wait there. Hold there, callers. I think it's a BSP thread. I could be wrong. It might be MBT. So I will check for that, Zane. Okay, but there'll possibly be adapters to fit in that hole. It's called tapping it. So there's your pressure sensor. No, it's a 1/8 1/8 gas. So it's a BSP thread. There's lots going on in my head. Right. So we've got the injectors. There's a distributor in the back. So that's going to need to be wide as the crank angle, as the speed, as the engine position. Because we're running a distributor, then we can get away with that, and because we're running center point injection, we're going to get away with it. So we're going to use injector 1 and injector 2, I think. Right, it just wasn't going to work how I wanted, so I wanted to check that I could do what I wanted while I'm talking to you. So I just quickly put in a configuration. So 4-cylinder, 4-stroke. It's in red, so you can't actually see it. I put Zane's EX Lancer. Gone to a fuel main. It's not going to be semi-sequential, is it? It's going to be center point grouped, and it brings up injector 1 and 2. So those are the 2 injector drives that it's going to allocate to doing this job. So that is perfect. Why is all my stuff 4,000 cc's? And that's going to be injection rate per cycle. It's going to be interesting. And I think for Zane, he'll have proper injector modeling, track-directed information, so modeled may be the good way to go. It may be easier to set up in traditional mode though. I prefer modeled. And we're either going to go 2 or 4. I'm probably 4 actually. 4 might be a bit big. It's the number of times the injectors will fire per each revolution. Right, so if you're a little bit unsure of what's happening, you can read the help file, because I'm under the configuration menu here. If I put it onto 4, it's going to fire both those injectors 4 times per each revolution, because it should, in my understanding, will fire both those injectors at once. Bam. So it may cause us to have fuel numbers that are really, really small, and if it's doing that, we can increase that and increase our definition by reducing the number of times the injectors fire. Okay, so I'm going to leave it on 4 at the moment, and that's going to do what we want. So it does bring up, as soon as we put it onto group fire, it does choose whether you're firing 2 in drivers or 4 drivers, so you can choose that. So that's kind of handy. Right, I have cheated here a little bit because I've used one of my 1UZ maps as a base. I'm using the same pinout that I use for all my inputs, and I've come down through analog inputs. Whenever there's a little down arrow, you can click on them and they drop down a menu. So it's got the engine coolant temp, the air temp, oil pressure, TPS, and fuel pressure all in the same places. I'm going to put them in the same places, and then the internal map sensor in the same place. Kind of cheating a little bit, I know. Right, back we go to some pictures. So we've discussed injectors and fuel pressure. It's off the list. We can move to the next picture. Here's an air temp. Now there's a good one, isn't it? I was looking at air temps. I reckon one of these ones. Whee, that one. And there's the boss to weld in. But looking at it, don't put it in the same place. I would smooth off where it is now. I'd weld that up and put it through the side, because the plug's in the wrong place, because we're going to have fouling issues on that plug. Okay, this is, it looks like an air temp sensor to me. Probably is. So whip that out. You'll find it to be an air temp sensor. Oh, this will be the fuel pressure edge, which will have an internal port in it, won't it? It's kind of cool. Right, so air temp probably at about here. Okay. I've already got that on the analog inputs. So that's a Bosch style. So NTC works fine. So that's your air temp sensor. Right, move to the next slide, shall we? That's some ugliness. And I think somewhere in there may be a unit to do with the knock block, or that could be the main relay actually. Oh, TPS, that's nice and simple. You can use that. So I'm going to put the TPS. I always put it into analog bolt 3, and my pen's not working. Rewind again. This is a solenoid for the EGR. Bin that. Throw that away. We don't need it. And here is a water temp sensor. What do you reckon that thread is? Do you reckon it's 3/8? I reckon it's going to be 3/8. Right, move to the next slide. There's a good look at the water temp. Now, I was going to suggest this nice common Bosch with a 12 by 1.5 thread. I don't know if I would actually. I'd be tempted to use a new Mitsubishi one, which we can get. Let me find a picture right there. Here we go. I'll give you the pricing. That one there. Oh, it shows the part number 2. That's alright. We've got 3/8 gas, hex of 19mm, so that's a very much a possibility. Is it going to have the right calibration? Maybe. So if you decide to go that way, you may find into calibration issues on the link, or you might have to make the calibration table up. It might just be an NTC, Bosch negative coefficient temperature sensor. That's why I like that Bosch one, but this one may be a good option as a brand new sensor, because I'm not going to let you run that old one. So that one got a normal top on it. I've actually got another picture here. It's right there. Found it. There it is. See, that's. I reckon that's what's got it in it now, with the 2 little prongs at the top. Which you could use that same thing, make it look like it was original, but I like a proper clip-on one. 3/8 gas again. One's got the 17mm head on it, which is interesting. And I think that's an option. I would like the one with the proper clip. Fussy, eh? Right, moving to the next thing. Moving to the next thing. Wait, we'll go back some pictures. Oh. Here's my problem. Wait a minute. Don't mind me. Okay, should we talk about that distributor? So that's probably going to be something we need to set up, and I think we're going to use that as the cam and crank sensor. I love this wiring. Look at this. Woo! That's fantastic. So let's go over to the Link software and see what we can do with that, eh? Triggers, drop down menu, trigger setup. Bam, it's going to be one you said, always is. It's going to be multi-tooth now, and we're actually going to wire the cam sensor in as a crank sensor, as trigger 1. And you're telling me that it's a reluctor. Pull it apart and have a look, see if it's got a reluctor sensor in it, or whether it's got voltage, so it might be a Hall effect. Okay, so check those. They'll have different outputs. Multi-tooth position is no longer on the crank, it's now on the cam shaft. So I'm going to tell the Link it's on the cam. Tooth count, what are we going to have in there? 4. I'm guessing. Okay, and then if it's a reluctor, we just need to set up some trigger voltages. If it is a Hall effect, then we'll have to change that a little bit. Okay, so we go to trig 2, sync mode, none. Okay, so that will give us the information that we want, and then of course once you get it pulsing, you'll need to go and calibrate it and set up your timing position correctly. Just change your offset. Of course, you know about phasing up your distributor as well, so that's all good. So at the same point, Let's set up that distributor. So we go to ignition, ignition main. So we're only going to use the one output because it's a distributor. So we've got injectors on injector 1, injector 2, and then we've got ignition on ignition 1. That leaves us 3 other ignitions. I think that'll work. You can do a test on it. Now coils, we discussed coils. So either an LS1, I like the LS1, but I also like that smart coil. Just put the dwell down. So IGN 1A. Flip a coin, take your pick. LS is a very available. IG1A is good. The LS coil, if I was getting one, I'd go for the HEI version with the spark plug output. That would be my choice. I would prefer that. Okay. All right, I'm going to take a little break, have some dinner, and we'll come back and look at the other bits and pieces I've got here. Righty ho. Dinner was lovely. Beef roast beef, veggies out of my garden, potatoes. Right, we're moving along. I think. Oh no, we've finished the pictures. Right, we're looking at a knock sensor, Bosch knock sensor. So the Monsoon. It's another reason to use the Monsoon, is they can accept knock sensors. Okay, so on DI4 we can put a knock sensor. Okay, so Zane can put a stud, find a spot on the block to put it, try to get in the middle of the engine. It'll be perfect. Right, oil pressure. Let's put some oil pressure in as well. Right, my favourite weapon of choice for oil pressure and oil temp is that Bosch combo sensor with an adapter with a 1/8 gas or a BSP, 1/8 BSP thread on it. I got the pin out, I got the connector. Zane, if you haven't done one of those connectors, you're going to really enjoy that because they're a bit of a pain to begin with. I've got to a point now where I pop the pins in and out. I've got a tool I can pop in, pop them out again, crimp them real nice, go nice and straight, watch the way they go in, then slide the clip across. Lots of guys complain about them. They should harden up. They're a little bit of a knack, but once you've got that knack sorted, we're good. I'm also going to ask you, Zane, if you've got a good pair of crimpers, because if you don't, I can get you a pair of good crimpers that suit most of this stuff. They're not perfect for everything, but they're a good addition to your toolbox. So oil temp I've got on, that is in the wrong place. I'm going to have to swap this around. So oil temp, I normally, oh sorry, no, let's run it on there because that is going to work for me. Just let me double check here. Nah, I always run it on number 1. The reason I put fuel pressure on number 1 when I'm doing UZs is if I put an atom in, we lose the we use that as a map sensor. Okay, because we've got map sensors that'll plug into the same plug. So I'm just going to swap these around. We'll show you how to do that because Zane needs to learn how to use the software as well. I do struggle a little bit, guys, because I go so fast and not everyone can keep up with me. Fuel temperature. No, I'm not doing fuel temperature. I'm doing fuel pressure. Presently on AM Vault 4, so we just come up here, we go AM Vault 1. It's going to give us a warning. Yes, oil temperature is connected to number 1, and we do want to disconnect it from AM Vault 1, so we go yes. These ones here, error high and error low. So if you put them at 0 and 5 volts, it turns the fault code off, the check light. Otherwise, you can get a check light, which we want a check light if the fuel pressure sensor fails. Oh, Zane, you're going to have to put a pull-up resistor on the oil temp. So we're going to come down here, oil temperature. You are going to want to put on a pull-up resistor to 5 volts. Oh, I've changed screens and I didn't show you what I did, eh? So in the software, help, gets the hop-down menu. Then I went wiring information, and I dropped all these menus down to analog inputs. There's temperature sensors, and it says here, look, using voltage channels with NTC sensors. And it shows a little thing here. And so there's the sensor. We're not using a piggyback, so we're not, but it's a good thing to read and understand, but we're doing it this one. So here's our sensor. And we get a 5 volt output. We can bring it out, and we have a 1k ohm external pull-up resistor. Mental note for Kelvin, just right here. Pull-up resistor. Jason's got the nice ones at the workshop. I've got the big ones, but that's all right. So that's how you do it. We use analog volt 4 as a temperature input. Okay, so that's good. Right, auxiliary outputs. We haven't discussed auxiliary outputs. We've got our analog input, so there's coolant temp, air temp, fuel pressure, oil pressure, TPS, of course, and the engine temp, which we just talked about, and the map sensor is in the ECS. And that, there it is there. Oh, I shouldn't throw things around. Guys get upset at me, eh? Like it's dropped onto some paperwork, guys. It's not going to hurt it. Certainly not, you know, they put them in jet boats. It's not going to hurt it. So we've got idle speed control. Now, I didn't see any idle speed control down there, Zane. I like idle speed control. And I think that one's probably got a screw. And it's probably got maybe a water temp thing. I didn't see anything. There's something to consider. I like a proper idle speed control. So you could consider like an external one. There are some options for that. Sometimes you can get away with, you just need that little bit extra. You can get away with things like a boost control solenoid with small lines on it. But sometimes they have a bleed off, so that isn't always a suitable. It depends on the solenoid design. Let me just go over those pictures and see if I can see anything. Just hold there, callers. Oh, I found a video.
Okay, so there's an engine, 1800 Cirrus, big block thing. All the wiring will come out of there. I'll come over here. 2 injectors there, TPS is there, some sort of, so the distributor goes there. It does have a vacuum advance, but we can lock that out if we need to.
Lock that.
And it is a 3-wire thing, but one of them's earth anyway. As you come around here, back down in there is like a big resistor block for the injectors, but we can fuck that right off too.
Oh, language.
So
this is YouTube.
That was the culprit over there, the knock sensor. Yeah, and we'll just put a, like you say, either an LS coil or the E1 or whatever it is from MS EL into here. Plenty of room up here in the A pillar, and I can pick up all my things there and probably throw wiring from the relay straight back to the fuel pump and that from here. But you know, I don't really want to get involved with any of this shit. That's just, yeah, it's just lovely. So from that there. So okay, mate. Yeah, hopefully that's what you need. Cheers, man.
Right, that was kind of helpful. Still not seeing any idle speed. Right. Let's look at a couple of auxiliary outputs. A couple more, which what we're doing. It's kind of weird sitting here talking to myself, and it's going to be really weird for Zane watching the video of him talking to himself. Idle speed, as we discussed that. We're going to go to auxiliary outputs, which is up here. Digital inputs. I don't think you're going to have any, to tell you the truth. Oh, yeah, well, you did discuss boost control, eh? So if you want a Mac valve, you could run the extra wires out by the throttle body. I put like a 2-pin Deutsch on it, or on the back of the firewall. That can go in behind the turbo or down the front of the engine, across the tappet covers. I don't know. These spark plug leads that run across there as well. But you've got options of that stuff. I wasn't paying attention, but I think it's going to have a viscous fan, so you don't need a fan output. So normally when I do them, here's the input pins. This is inputs, a speed and a start position. Start position. Okay, so let's put a start. The reason I put a start in is for the starting logic. Like there's a priming thing. So instead of priming with key on, the injectors with the key on, it primes when you go to start it. So if someone's sitting there turning the key on and off while they're doing testing, if it's on prime, on key on, it squirts the injectors each time. So I'm actually just turning them off. It's a bit slow. That's the speed gone. So we've just got the start on number 2 on DI2. Oh, this one's got an idle switch. I always do that on the UZs. I'm just going to turn that off for you too. And I will save this map or the setup for you. It'll give you a little bit of a head start. And we're going to auxiliary outputs. Apparently we're not going to auxiliary outputs. Now we're going to auxiliary outputs. See, there's a little cross here. I push on it and down comes the down menu. And then I go all the way to the bottom. Guys complained about this software when it first came out. It didn't take me too long to get used to it. It's not a bad one. So this one I've got an idle speed solenoid, a tacho. We're going to have a tacho that normally comes off the coil. So you're not going to have that anymore because you're not going to have a coil. So you're going to have to solve it before it run it off the ECU. Again, it's going to be a pull-up resistor to make it work. Or go to the back of the dash. There may be a dropping resistor on the back of the dash you can take out. You are going to need to address that. So I would use an output from the ECU. You can do it with a relay too. Pulsar relay coils. So just consider that. Fuel pump output. You are going to need a fuel pump output. This one's got a speedo output to the dash. You're probably not going to need that. So I'll turn that off. Oil light. I'm going to leave that one in. So what I do is I run the oil pressure in with that fella, and I use the ECU to trigger the dash. And then you can put it in at different levels. And you can also put some safety protections. If you lose oil pressure, you can put speed cuts, rev cuts. Can't have speed cuts, but rev cuts into that ECU and hopefully save that engine. Okay. So we've got the oil pressure going in, and I'm going to leave that on auxiliary 5, that output. Excuse me. If you want to change it, just change it. Put it somewhere else. This one's got a warning buzzer for overheating as well. I'll ditch that at the moment, but it does give you the ability to do some other stuff there. You'll see on this one there is no fan output in there, in the auxiliary outputs. But Zane, you've also got these ignition and injector outputs if you wanted a whole lot of outputs. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that overheat into something else. So if you click into the here, it brings me up this, right? I can turn it off, and I can adjust that stuff, but I can't turn it into something else. Can't be done. So I go up here, and we're just going to do the one. I'm going to do boost control. So I'm going to come down through here, and there's a list of things here. I'm going to pull the GP outputs. There's the overheat. There's the oil light. Okay. I could put it on GPPWM, but no, that's not the right place to do it. But if we actually scroll down, and this can be a little tricky for learners, we scroll down here to boost control, and they've done the same thing with idle speed control. It comes from that specific menu as where you put in your auxiliary output. We go to boost control, we go boost setup, and if we turn it on, let's just put it on open loop for the moment, and I'll zero all those tables, and we need a PWM output, and I'm going to put it on number 4 on the overheat. I'm going to leave that solenoid there at the moment. I'm going to leave the tacho, I'm going to leave the fuel pump, I'll leave the oil, and I'm just going to turn that one off. But we're going to put this one here. Yes, I want to disconnect it, and it's cool having those warnings now. If you want to test that output, you can test it here. Come on or PWM. So in this case, if you had your boost control solenoid, your PWM, it'd make noise, you call it good. Cancel that. Active state low, 1 Hertz. That would be horrible. I'm going to go with 150. It's probably going to be somewhere between sort of 150 and 300. And you can set the rest of it up if necessary. And then you can actually go along, and here's your wastegate duty cycle, and there's your setups for your boost control. Now I think I can actually go in here, and I can leave it as boost control, but I can leave it disabled. And I think if I come up here, let's see if I'm right. So it's still got boost control, but it's not working at the moment, leaving it in a kind of a safe state. And we'll turn that speedo up off. None. Gone. Okay, that's the main stuff done. I'm going to save this file, aren't I? File. In this case, it's just overwritten Brad's one. It's late, so I'm going to go save as. And I'll go back and I'll recover Brad's. I've got a copy of it. We're okay. I'm going to put it under tuning maps. Tuning maps. And I'm going to put it under, I'm going to start a new folder. Zane Lancer. And I'll go starting test file. Oh, or something. What I often do is I put 01, so that, and then 02, 03, or 4. Just how I do it. Right, Zane. I think that's the main stuff. Oh, can lambda. I'd recommend a can lambda. Single can lambda in the exhaust as your oxygen sensor. So put that on the can channel. Highly recommended. Okay, highly recommended. And a little relay block. I've got some here. Wait there, let me go get one. Here's a relay block that I do. These are a real simple one. Start. We've got ECU, ignition, start, fuel pump, and fan. You might not be fan because you've got a different thing happening. Got a viscous. I've got a smaller block as well. I was going to go get to show a whole lot of different relay blocks I make, but they happen to be at the workshop because I'm doing a video on relay blocks for Lynx at the moment. But for those guys that have got this far, I hope it's been helpful on a little bit of the process that we go through, that we apply when we're setting up this sort of stuff. There is more to it, of course, but it's an overview to give Zane the quickest, easiest way to look over it. Okay. I think I've made it pretty safe that even his customer could watch it, see what's going on, get an idea of the process and the planning that we're doing to sort the stuff out. So, Zane, there's going to be questions, but hopefully I've answered a lot of them, and hopefully you've learned a little bit more about the software as well. you already play with your race car, so that's all good. Let me know what you need. A couple of decisions to make in there. We'll chat tomorrow. Talk later. Thanks, mate. Catch up.